Now
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company. It's the post-debate wrap-up show. I'm live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was there in the room last night, a big room, by the way. It's in the room. It's a freaking basketball stadium, right? But it was huge, and we had a lively debate there, Patrice Onwuka, back in Washington, D.C., and we're going to talk about it quite a bit. Coming up at 7:05, Link Lauren, a social media influencer, is going to join us. He's here as well. 7:35, Carrie Lake is going to join us. 8:05, Governor Scott Walker, and at 8:35, Sean Spicer. And we mentioned that Tim Scott really did fade into the background last night, sadly, because I like Tim Scott a lot, and I thought that he started really strong in this campaign, but it wasn't a great night for him. I don't think it was well, listen, CNN says that it wasn't a good night for Ron DeSantis, which tells me Ron DeSantis probably did pretty well with Republican voters.
It means he came out unscathed.
Yeah, and also if CNN doesn't like you, that's probably a good thing in the eyes of Republican voters, at least. Of all the candidates, I think Nikki Haley is definitely the one who helped herself the most. And I think with Vivek Ramaswamy, and again, by the way, when I'm giving my analysis, guys, this doesn't mean I agreed with everything Nikki Haley said. I'm just giving you who I think politically emerged and strengthened their position in the campaign. Vivek Ramaswamy, I'm still undecided about how he did last night because I think he had some really, really strong moments. I think he also had some really, really unforced errors and bad moments. And I think that the biggest problem with Vivek Ramaswamy is his lack of experience, and part of that is amplified by his youth. I'll admit it. I'm not being ageist, but there is a youth factor there.
What? No, I mean, listen, come on now. Vivek, he has founded multi-billion-dollar corporations. He's educated, but beyond that, he seems to be someone who can connect with people no matter what station of life that they're in.
Patrice, this is not a reflection of who he is and whether he's capable of being president. It has to do with his performance last night.
Well, that's more of him being a political novice than just a young person.
Perhaps, but I think that plays into some of the hurdles that he has to cross, let's say.
Okay.
That said, one thing is interesting because everybody says, well, the real winner was Trump. And, it's interesting. I'm not so sure about that. Obviously, he did his interview with Tucker Carlson. It topped 100 million views on Twitter.
Wow.
But to caution you, that means you could watch it for 15 seconds and then turn away, and that still counts as a view. So
that's true.
That's how the internet works. But I got to tell you something. Everybody says Trump's the only one who can beat Biden in this campaign. Trump's the only one who can beat Biden. I look at this, first of all, like it or not, Trump didn't beat Biden last time. At least the results, as that election was handled, he did not win. And I think by him not being there last night, it actually, if he were on stage, everyone else on stage would have shrunk in comparison.
Sure.
By him not being there, I got to tell you, I look at that stage and I think, oh yeah, I can see half of these people beating Joe Biden. I can see Nikki Haley beating Joe Biden. I can see Ron DeSantis beating Joe Biden. I can see Mike Pence beating Joe Biden.
They would run circles around Joe Biden in a debate. 100%. And given 4 years ago, we didn't have the information about Hunter Biden and his father, their dealings, the way we have the evidence we have today. And there's no way Biden could defend any of that. So I think you're right. I think people could envision a world without President Trump at the top of the ticket.
Yeah. I mean, but that's not the case. He is running, and he is probably going to get the nomination the way things are going.
Sure.
Matt Gaetz, congressman from Florida, was in the spin room. I grabbed a little bit of what he had to say and also had an exchange with him specifically because he was really talking up Vivek Ramaswamy and his performance. And I wanted to know if he thought that Ramaswamy's foreign policy was in line with Trump's foreign policy. So that comes toward the end of this exchange. Here's Matt Gaetz last night in the spin room.
That Ramaswamy really sent a shockwave through this debate. He was electric and dynamic, far more than we saw from other folks who just sort of sounded like the typical pre-realignment GOP that had been losing substantially.
What did you think about DeSantis tonight?
I really wish he had had the opportunity to smile. Like, I did not see Ron DeSantis issue a single sincere smile. And it is quite something that blew out an Achilles and seemed like he was in less pain than Ron DeSantis during this entire debate. And so, look, Ron is a capable and smart person, but he did not break through in this debate the way that his campaign needed to, just to be able to maintain any lifeblood.
Do you think this was a waste of time?
Honestly, I really enjoyed Milwaukee, and I enjoyed meeting with our activists, had some great beer, cheese, and brats, but I don't think we saw the leader of the Republican Party on that stage. I think you'll be seeing him tomorrow in Atlanta.
Do you think Ramaswamy helped?
Yeah, again, I said earlier, I'm glad that the Trump-Pence administration wasn't solely defended by Mike Pence, because it would have been a far less robust and less muscular defense than we heard from Ramaswamy. It almost seemed like at every point in the debate, a different candidate tried to tangle with Ramaswamy, and it was like they were putting a wet fork into an electric socket because he seemed to be giving as good as he got.
Can you say again who you thought won the debate?
Vivek won the debate. Ron DeSantis lost the debate. Probably President Trump does the best coming out of it, because you saw nothing in this debate that is going to reshape the fundamental contours of this race. Nothing at all. And if anything, you saw almost all the candidates, sans a kind of sad, death rattle of a Chris Christie campaign and whatever Asa Hutchinson was doing here tonight, sans them, everybody was supporting the fundamental premise of Trump's campaign, which is that this is a weaponized government that needs major structural reform. The only question is who's in the best position to deliver that reform. We think it's President Trump, after he served 4 years in office and did a lot of good things for the country.
I guess what I was trying to get at is, do you think it's a waste of time for conservative viewers to watch debates where Trump isn't on the stage?
Well, it's way less fun, right? Like, if I had to describe this debate in a word, it would be joyless. Like, if President Trump were up there, he'd be making fun of Rand Paul's hair, and, we would be able to, I think, have a more engaging and dynamic discussion. Here, it was kind of some has-beens, and again, like I said, some upstarts who maybe quite aren't ready yet.
Does Ramaswamy's foreign policy properly reflect President Trump's?
It was reflective of my views, and like Nikki Haley is quite something to criticize Ramaswamy for not having foreign policy experience, because it's Nikki Haley's foreign policy experience that's gotten this nation into forever wars, that has been disorganized through a series of misadventures in the Middle East. I mean, Nikki Haley's been for 10 out of the last 3 wars, so I'm not much interested in what her foreign policy experience is.
All right, that was Matt Gaetz, congressman from Florida, last night in the spin room. Although I got to take issue. I mean, it's fun, and I like him, and I think you're right. It wasn't as fun a debate without Trump there. But when you criticize Nikki Haley for her foreign policy and how she's been wrong on foreign policy, here's the interesting thing. Up until the Trump administration, she was just a governor from South Carolina. The entirety of her foreign policy experience is being the ambassador to the UN for President Trump.
Absolutely.
So if she's a disaster on foreign policy, that means Donald Trump appointed a disaster on foreign policy to be the ambassador to the UN.
It's hard to disentangle her from President Trump's foreign policy, agenda. So, I think they were trying to find a way to dig at her, and that fell flat.
But that's why I asked the question, because he's up there saying that Vivek Ramaswamy did so well, and meanwhile he's debating foreign policy with Trump's ambassador to the UN. So it's like, I'm sorry, does Vivek Ramaswamy properly reflect what Donald Trump thinks?
Well, but his
on a
answer
global scale?
His answer to you was, Vivek reflects what I think.
Right.
So that may be
a
the
non-answer.
difference.
That's not
exactly. It's not exactly. He's not going to give in on the fact that is what it's different from what President Trump has certainly promoted. I mean, let's think about all of the accords that were struck during the Trump administration, bringing, lasting peace in the Middle East for that had not been seen in quite a while.
That Nikki Haley participated in.
Exactly, helped to broker.
That's an interesting thing, and that's why it's fun to sort of get within the Republican Party these little discussions going on. It's